to get a couple people on to start the conversation here, and then we'll get started. And I'm bringing up my thread here to make sure that it's showing. How are you all doing today? Everybody feeling good? I'm not sure if this is working or not. Hey, there we go. Hello.
Hello, am I the only one?
For right now, yeah.
I clicked on the link that was in LinkedIn, and it took me somewhere else.
It took you somewhere else? Well, you mean on the event?
Yes.
Oh, let me look. So it takes you to the event page.
It said, events starting soon, wait for the host to start.
Oh, I wonder if it got disconnected from the LinkedIn. Oh, yeah. See, it's not connecting. Shoot. Well, hold on here.
All right. Well, assignable cause is a good thing.
Edit channels. Edit. Let me do.
You got to do a thing. Go do a thing.
Let me see if this will work.
All right. I will. I'll let you do what you do.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I think that's. Okay, so now hopefully that'll do it. It needed to be enabled. So let me see if this is working now on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the capability, the sync up for this is a little weird on some of these events.
Let me go fix some things on this screen.
Okay. No, it is working. So there is a post here. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I have with me today Griffin Jones. We are trying to get this started so that we can get the conversation started. And I'm going to change. I'm not quite sure if this is syncing up to the right. The event itself is not. Yeah. Hold on. Let me see. Let me try one thing in here. I might have to switch it over.
No problem. You'll fix this all in post.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. If only that didn't. Oh, shoot. Okay. So it says we're streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to share this with the actual group. There we go.
All right. And I'm cold, so I'm getting a jacket.
All right. There we go. And we will, that way we can get.
Yeah, it's upstairs. I'll live.
All right. So we are talking today about taking things beyond the traditional testing arena from a quality perspective, and talking about diversifying your testing, diversifying your career, diversifying your skill sets, and uh, and really kind of putting yourself as testers and as quality practitioners into a place where you are reared and ready to go for this next era of growth in the market, for the skill sets that are needed, for the positions and the needs that are being demanded of teams these days. Griffin, why don't we start out? And I'm coming back here to the restream because I can't see you, and I'm not sure if you're
Yeah, no
actually
problem.
here. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I am here. I can see
Okay,
you.
good. Okay, good.
So can I reinforce what you just said?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
build off that? So I completely agree. One of the great things about test groups, whether or not they're recognized as a test group inside whatever the configuration of the organization
yeah,
is that there's so many different paths that could lead out from it. You could become
yeah,
an expert like Michael or James, or you could go into requirements, become more of a BA, or you could become a product owner, so a more traditional product owner. So there's many things. That one of the key things for me when I'm coaching younger testers, and by
yeah,
younger I mean less than 7 years, is there comes a point where um, people have to make the decision about, well, what would you like to do? Where are your skills?
yeah,
How does that match up and with what the marketplace needs, and where your interests are, and then take the opportunity to explore and grow in those particular directions.
yeah.
It's very rare for somebody to stay in a test role for 35 years.
It is. Yeah.
So if I look back at my career, I did 3 particular things. I was a hardcore technical tester. I have a comp sci degree. And I did that and got really good at it at the beginning. I went early in my career, I went into embedded systems and high risk systems in terms of really large, complex, or life critical systems. From there, because I was involved with FDA products, when the FDA put down design controls, I was involved with rewriting the processes that were applicable at that point. So I added for myself, I added a process component. So writing procedures and processes and dealing with the larger parts of the organization at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I picked up some agileness and added that. And so to some degree, if you look at my career, I've moved between those particular aspects, emphasizing one over the others.
Yeah.
And I think as a tester, I think that it's important to bring more than just a single narrow focused skill to the table. So Agile talks about paint drip people, or so it's I-shaped versus T-shaped. So be more T-ish. Bring more than one thing to a particular engagement as a tester.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that can mean a lot of different things depending on the context that you're in, right?
Absolutely.
Depending on the size of the organization, depending on the domain that you're in, depending on the role of quality within the organization. Yeah, I think
depending on your other teammates. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing I think that's interesting about the market right now, because when you go out there and you look at the research, right? The research is saying that quality and testing market is actually growing faster than the development market right now, and that's partially because we're on this precipice of new technologies that are poorly understood by organizations, and so they are in need of people who can be the gatekeepers. And I use that term lightly because I know that there can be a negative connotation to it, but be those who can come in and investigate and do what we testers do best, which is get curious about stuff and dig in and play with it and
Yeah,
learn what's working and learn what's not, right?
yeah. Let me build off. I would be reluctant to say gatekeeper because that's sort of
I know.
confines them. I like the idea of so they come with critical distance.
Right.
They have an understanding that they come from a place. So we want to ship the product. We all agree, because or else we all don't have jobs. But
Right.
at the same time, we
Right.
would like to not necessarily kill people, and we like to have the organization be successful.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, how about if we do some investigation of the actual product, or or the other engineering artifacts to figure out how could this go wrong? Uh, Preferably, how could this go wrong in a meaningful way in service to those that are trying to ship the product and make
Right.
decisions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, it's the difference between the creator and the critic,
Yeah.
in that little c critic. You need them both.
Right. Right. You need
So
the checks and balances. Yeah.
finding out how to be a really good critic so that they welcome you and invite you in early, because you make things work better. They go faster, they go smoother. We discover where we really are earlier.
Yeah.
That's a skill,
Right. Right.
as a tester, that you should develop how to influence others,
Yeah.
developers, management, product owners, etc.,
Yeah.
other testers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are a lot of ways to do that in a lot of different contexts too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. So I was doing some research before today, but before today's session, and I was looking at McKinley and some of the some of the groups that do larger scale research on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about the skills gaps that exist today, um, because the
Yeah.
the the executive layer, the leaders of these organizations are still reporting that there is a talent gap, right? A skill gap of about 80%, 7% of these executives are saying that there's a skill gap. Um, and the shortages, like the projected cost of those shortages is massive. Like we're talking trillions and trillions of dollars that are being wasted because people just don't have the skill sets that they need in order to fill the needs that are there. Now, there's a lot of data behind that. I'm sure you could probably pull and look at that data from a lot of different perspectives. That's the crazy thing about statistics, right? But I think one of the things that you can look at is like the underlying trends of that, right? Like when we look at quality, I will say one of the biggest frustrations that I have had over the course of the past maybe 10 to 15 years is that we've kind of been on this, and there's always the ebb and flow within testing that we go through, where, you have the criticality of it, they see the value of it, they're investing in it. And then all of a sudden, they are the cost center that's not adding value, that's slowing everybody down,
Mm-hmm.
that they don't code, in many cases because of the way that the organizations have been managed and led from a quality perspective, and they haven't really pulled in the strategic side of quality, right? And understanding what quality actually means in the organization and what goals they're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Because of a lot of that, they have kind of filled those gaps with individuals who may not be qualified for those roles and may not have the technical skill sets that, those of us who have been in testing for a really long time, frankly, we were able to develop those because we were kind of thrown into it, right? Like it was, I don't know how it was for you, Griffin, but like back in the day when I got thrown into testing, it was, here you go. Here's a set of how to set up your environment, a set of, step by steps. Good luck. And here I was working with, database browsers and, learning SQL and learning how to set up web servers, on the job, and just, you know, getting into the configurations and learning how to do all of that stuff in real time. And, yes, it was hard. And yes, it was frustrating at times. Um, but I think that sink or swim kind of mentality forced me to build skills that are somewhat of a dying dying thing today. And I think it's time for us to kind of bring those back. And create these spaces where people are forced to kind of use the tools at their disposal, given a little bit of guidance, and say, you know what, figure it out. Because that's really what the majority of technologists experience, right? Like, it's figuring it out. You got to figure it out.
Figure it out in the broad sense. So
Right.
figure it out might be, I don't know that. I don't have time to learn it all, but I do have a Rolodex of people.
Yes.
Who could I go buy coffee for and have a
Right.
30-minute conversation and get the clue
Yeah.
that I need that'll save me a week of time?
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I know that in my particular career, the way I landed out of college was directly into a test group, which was a gigantic organization of gigantic at that time of 150 plus engineering developers, building a gigantic system being used to digitize all the paper in a company, all of it. So scan it, burn it onto CDs, etc. And so when I was hired into the test group, my first real role was really a VAX cluster installer and administrator. And so I ended up learning all of those aspects of the system before I could actually start to test it, because it was all bleeding edge, brand new at that time.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I eventually took another role where I was part of leading a test group on a silicon graphics system of multiple millions of dollars that was doing digital compositing for movie special effects. Silicon graphics at the time was so bleeding edge. There were no tools. There were no tools to do any of the normal test things that we would do. And so step one was me and my team had to become administrators and figure out how to configure the system and investigate core dumps and understand all the ways the particular system was working underneath before it, let alone our particular application. So it behooves individuals to pause, take a look around at their context, and figure out what are the other things that they need other than traditional testing skills, technical skills per se. So the tools, the environment, your ability to influence, etc.
The other thing that you're starting to see here, and frankly, I don't see this changing. I mean, they've been kind of going this way for a while, but I think there's a lot of merit to it, which is this idea that testing is an engineering discipline, right? I mean, like, I think one of the battles and one of the things that for the longest time, I was like, no, this is an engineering thing. Like, people need to be technical. People need to understand, like, do they need to be developers? No, not necessarily, but they need to understand the systems that are that are in play. They need to understand how data flows through the system and how fields work, and they need to understand at a fundamental level how software applications work.
They're saying that I just noted in the chat, if you happen to see it, that we're running on YouTube but not on through LinkedIn. FYI.
Oh yeah, so I had to share. So I had to share another link to everybody. Let me.
You do that, and I'll talk to the point you just made.
Cool.
Which
okay.
was, agree with you. People need a baseline of technical skills, so that they understand the basic concepts about how operating system works or whatever the technology is. But there comes a point where the next thing you're working on, you won't have experience in. But if you can relate it to, well, when I was on this other thing, and here's how it's similar, and here's the parts that are different. So if you're experienced enough that you're able to, and if you experienced enough that you're able to explain it to the other people, and if you have the capability to learn and apply your learning from a different context into your new context, then that's an advantage. That was a particular skill. My career has been made up of always working on things that have never been done before.
Yeah.
And so there were never any tools. All the particular, you had to like learn how to do it from a technical point of view. But the fact that after you do it a couple of times, that becomes a particular skill. Oh yeah, it's just that again. It's a database. Yeah,
Right.
and here's how it's quirky.
Exactly.
But it's a database. Oh,
But
it's a GUI on the front end.
Patterns, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
All of these things follow patterns. I mean, I think one of the things that threw me for a loop for a while was getting out, like, getting used to the idea that structured versus the non-structured databases, right? And kind of moving past this world of Oracle where we had all these relational, like, things were very organized in a tabular way, right? And everything was very laid out, and there were very specific rules about what could exist and what couldn't. And then we were just like, nope, we don't need that necessarily. We only need it in the context we need it. And I was like,
exactly. But then you get over and say, okay, how does this affect the way I test? Well,
right.
These ways aren't really different. It's not exactly the same, but it rhymes enough that you can sort of follow. And like this way over here, yeah, that's not going to work at all.
Right.
I'm going to have to do something total. I don't know how to address that. I need to figure that out.
Yeah.
And this over here, it's like, wow, with that capability, this is something different. I've never even thought about how would I do that? And then you get the joy of exploring the new space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, going back to the point about it being becoming kind of this engineering discipline, right? There are a couple of things that come with that. One, it does mean that we really do need to embrace this idea that we are part of the engineering team, right?
Oh, yeah.
And get past this whole like testers versus developers versus like, no, everybody has a different role. Everybody has different things that they contribute. This isn't trying to get rid of the value that you're bringing to the table. This is a need for us to be able to recognize that in order to meet the demands that are on these companies today, which is move fast, high confidence, right? Fail fast, fail forward,
learn fast,
learn more, right? Like the tools that we have available to us, like it used to be that we, when you and I started out in this world, we were going through a year release cycle, right? Where at the end of it, everybody would give their big stamp of approval, and then you would burn CDs to send out to your customers because we weren't making we didn't have we didn't have the capabilities that we have today. And so back then it mattered that what you had was not only the right thing, but it mattered that it was 100% going to work the minute you put it out there. And
the cost of making updates in the field was
high.
The cost of release was high at that time.
Right.
So there was that whole idea around code free. Oh my God, we need to code freeze. And then we need to spend 4 to 6 weeks or more to characterize what we had.
Right.
So that we don't accidentally ship something.
Right. Exactly. And I think because of that, like there are so many more opportunities for us now because it not only does it expand quality to upstream areas, but it also expands downstream, right? And so it's not just shift left anymore. It's shifting right, and it's saying, okay, what can we learn from real users in real time, and what can we learn about those environments that can give us information that can make us better the next round, right?
Yeah, or your support organ. It could be when I was doing agile coaching, often I would try to get individuals to pick a particular capability and become the expert at that, not just inside your group, but inside the company. Yeah. So become the facilitator, or like you were building off of here, become the person that's developed a relationship as a tester with all the support organization. And so when the support organization has a weird thing, they call you to both share it with you because you're interested and it informs your testing, but also you are able to sort of dig into it and figure out what's actually happening in the production site.
Yeah.
So as it's personalized branding. Figure out what aspect of that do you love, that you're good at, that has value, and that makes you somewhat unique.
Yeah.
And then cultivate that, and that becomes part of your story when you move between projects or
Absolutely.
between companies.
Absolutely.
A common one for testers is become really good at documentation. We had a tester who was also a technical writer, but it was like, as we said, me and Jamie, yeah, after 6 months after we hired her, it's like, yeah, why were we were idiots. We should have hired Veronica years ago, because she just sits in the room as we're going through the technical conversations, and then less than a week later, out comes a wonderfully shaped set of technical documentation that would have taken us like an entire month to have gotten to that particular point. So it's look for those particular skills that you're particularly good at or you're interested in that have value to others, and showcase that, do it and showcase that you can do it really well. A database person is awesome. A tester who collects all the tools. So they're like the tool expert. So they just don't know a database tool. They know the 3 different kinds of database tools.
Right.
And they can explain why you would use this one and not that one in any particular context. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I do think, I mean, with so many people searching for new roles right now, right? Some of this, well, in your team context may not necessarily resonate with those who are currently looking. So, but I do think it's worth kind of venturing outside of the existing context that people may be in and kind of going, how do you prepare yourselves? What are the technical foundations that will prepare you for the next interview and the next role that you're jumping into, and how you can utilize that time that you now have off to really kind of sharpen your toolkit, right? So what, from your perspective, I've been thinking a lot about this in terms of the types of things that I would be looking for in a new test team today, right? And if I was going to build a team from scratch, what are the foundationals that I would want? Griffin, what are your thoughts on that? What are, if you were going to build a team from scratch today to test, let's say, to test an enterprise environment, right? Where you're not only building new solutions, but you're utilizing off the shelf solutions. Because I think that's by and large a good majority of the companies that testers are in right now.
I build teams like I play cards. So I look at the whole hand.
Yeah.
So all the particular pieces. I also know myself, I prefer to hire a smaller group of more expert people that are somewhat self-directed and can be given a larger mission, as opposed to hiring lots of people that I end up tens of people that I have to manage directly, hourly. Yeah, that's so that's me personally. However, there might be a context where no, my preferred way of doing it might not be the best. I know that for myself, I tend to steer myself away from those because I know my motivation is important. So usually it's like, okay, somebody needs you look at the different characteristics. Is there a technical writer? Do we have someone? Is there a front end? So who knows front ends? Who knows the back end? Database.
Yeah, so you diversify
data
skills.
So there's a bunch of qualities that I would click through to say, does this apply to what degree? How many? What's our approach to this? How much toolness are we going to use? What's our relationship with the development team? Can I get them to like build testability into the tool, into the product itself? Is it a brownfield situation or a greenfield? Both in terms of am I on version 6.8 of this product, or am I on version pre 1.0? That affects it. Did I inherit a team? How does the team relate to the other folks? What's the bigger context? Hey, we're going to run out of money in 12 months. unless we get something shipped.
Right.
Oh, welcome to Startup Land. Hey, we have unlimited funding. It's a 5-year project, and we just need to do this in phases. So
Yeah.
all of that impacted directly
Yeah.
how you would build the particular team. There is no right answer. There's many correct answers. There's some particular answers that are probably not correct, which would be all I need to find is the one correct way. I'll just hire a whole army of people that just do the one thing.
Yeah.
And that'll
Yeah.
work. So diverse half measures for
Yep.
me tend to work better.
Yeah.
Smart
I agree.
people. I hire for attitude. People can learn skills if they need to. I hire for relationship. How well do they fit with the others? Because testing, I found that testing works best when we partner with the other technical members of the team
Yep.
and get very aligned with the business. So
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned was around bringing people in that you would have to manage on an hourly basis. So I will say, for those of you who are newer to your career, you're young in your career, you're just starting, right? I would say there are a few key things to be aware of that I think is a challenge for greener, those just entering the field, is that a lot of those companies are not willing right now to invest uh, in in hiring entry level roles. They just aren't willing to do it. And
they,
so what that means, that poses a challenge for those of us who are just entering the career, may have gone to school, may have a base level of information coming out of some tech college or boot camp or whatever, but not any real world experience, right?
Mhm.
And so one of the best pieces of advice that I would give you, um, if you're in that situation today, is take this opportunity to learn how to drive yourself forward, because we are so fortunate these days to live in an era where the amount of learning and the amount available to you free, just completely out there, to go learn new skills in technical
Mhm.
fields, and the very action of you owning that and taking that upon yourself, and you know building your skill set and taking on projects, like build a GitHub account and go out there and start contributing to it and start taking on projects to learn how to code in Python, or to build out, whatever it may be, whatever technology skill it will be, right? Like build out a new database, understand relational versus non-relational databases and how to interact with those and how to build them. There are no shortage of resources out there for you to up your technical skills while you're in this kind of holding pattern. And
Mhm.
so for those of you who aren't what you would refer to as technical testers, well, here's your chance. This is your chance, because the reality is that the future of testing, I believe, will be technical regardless. Like I don't expect that we will have non-technical testers moving forward. Now, do I think that we will have ones that are focused on UAT and really understanding the workflow and understanding the business case? Yes, but I also think that will just be incorporated into the core testing, right? Much like it has been. But I think we've kind of, like, there are certain organizations, especially if they aren't technology companies, where they've allowed for that not to be the thing, but they're self-correcting now, right? And they're realizing that those skills that they have to understand, they have to be able to bring that stuff to
You
the table.
um, you have to be technical enough that you can sit in a design review
Hmm.
and understand the general flow of the conversation, where the risks
Right.
are, how the pieces sort of fit together, and have that inform your perspective of, well, what would you test and
Right.
why?
Right.
Um, and do you need to get a perfect score on all the technical questions? No, but you
No.
should understand where your limits are and who would you go have once again, who would you go have a conversation with? Or, hey, wow, there's a lot. I'm thinking about back to myself. There was a particular product that I worked on where, or a piece of a product that I was responsible for, where it's, yeah, this is hardcore database stuff. Yeah, that's not my particular strength. Yeah, I need to go spend the time.
Right.
Like last time I really did this hardcore was in college and like 5 years ago on that other project.
Right.
Yeah, I need to refresh, relearn. Let me go talk to my person. Let me get my Rolodex out, find the person that knows DB stuff that I'm friends with, and have them. Let's go have a coffee and talk databasey stuff, and bring my skill up. Yeah. Now, did I become good enough to code in it? No, not at all. But I was good enough to like sit in the design review and follow the conversation and realize, ooh, they don't really understand that part. They're having trouble explaining that part. That part might be a piece that, with the heuristic of, if they have trouble explaining it, you might want to test that more.
Yeah, might want to look at it a little closer. Yeah. Yeah.
And then having enough technical chops that you can build relationship with the technical people.
Yeah.
And that way, that when you generate questions or issues or bugs against their part, that they don't feel like they're wasting time trying to explain earth, wind, and fire to somebody who has absolutely no knowledge. So you're working on it, you're doing technical work, or you're interacting with a technical team trying to do technical work. Respect the other technical people and learn well enough that you're able to contribute.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. And I do think, it is a hard conversation, because it is, you have every end of the spectrum, right? Like where you have teams that are, that are nothing but SDETs and do, nothing but automation first type strategy. And then you have teams that are purely manual and so behind in terms of their capabilities and skill sets, and are perfectly complacent in that. And I think,
so that last one you described might be a group that formed a test group from former customer service people that know it's a really complicated product with a really specialized customer. And they deeply, deeply know how that particular application works and what they're attempting to accomplish. And that's the value that and we need you to test this because we're going to inflict this on our thousands of customers that are in production. And we want to know, and no one's able to make the technical people that understand the guts of it don't understand how it's being used by the customer well enough to recognize something that's obvious to that particular person. So that might be the reason why they're less technical, because the knowledge of how it's used in the real world, in a production environment, is so big that it pushes that it's consuming all of their brain power.
Right, exactly. And just to be clear, right, when we talk about diversification of your career, there is a path for that, right? If you don't enjoy the technical aspects of testing, there are plenty of systems analysts and product analysts and business analysis type roles where those types of things, it's a lot of the same practices just applied to the business workflow and the actual use cases and the business cases that you're working with. So you end up being that upstream kind of, part of defining the requirements and giving the clarity of the picture of what we're striving for. And so I do think there are paths open to those who aren't necessarily like their heart's not in the technical stuff, right? Like I've always known my heart's like I have made very, very specific career moves to stay in the technical spot because I enjoy technology strategy. I enjoy the complexity of forcing myself to learn new technologies on a regular basis and getting into those systems and playing with those systems and understanding how they connect to one another and adding new technology stacks and figuring out the nuts and bolts of those, right?
Mhm.
My brain loves that stuff and it needs that
Mhm.
level of challenge. I also love the other stuff, but like I'm definitely like I like the big picture of all of that.
Mhm.
And I never want to get away from that technology, that technology side of it, because it is something I really enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Um,
Uh, so I've worked with people that were less technical in the testing role, but they came to the space in the testing role. Their particular skill, personal skill in those roles were we were working on movie special effects.
mhm.
They had worked in a studio for years with those particular tools. So they
Yeah,
understood them backwards and forwards in ways that the technical people had no clue about.
yeah,
I
yeah,
worked I worked I worked with a team that was doing insurance. Um, and there were people in the test group that were they worked on the operations side of that organization and knew backwards and forwards all the business rules and all the hidden things that weren't documented
yeah.
about how their operations actually really work. Um, I've worked in financial systems, in trading systems, and and in medical field, where it was heavy math, really, really crazy level math. So there was a person doing his research was around. Uh, I I've hired people. There was a person who did research around quantum mechanics. He was in the test group. There was another person who was studied the stars. So very technical
Oh,
people in a different field.
yeah, yeah,
But hey, we need to test this application. It does eigenvector calculations. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't just wing your way through that. I was testing a radiology product.
mm,
I hired in the test group a person with a medical degree that had done research around radiology.
yeah,
Why? Because she was a doctor in
right,
radiology, and we were
yeah,
building a radiology product.
yeah, yeah,
So when she wrote
absolutely,
that thing and said this works or this doesn't make sense to a radiologist, she had greater credibility in the test group as a tester
absolutely.
in that environment. So you need to open your mind up and see how that might fit.
Yep, yep. I love that you've kind of gone outside of the box a little bit, because I think there is something to that. So there are a couple of things. So we've been here at AST, we've been heads down in strategy right now. And so one of the things that we are working on is an expanded toolkit for our members that we're looking at ways to improve competency in the things that are not necessarily, I mean, yes, we have some technical paths, but there's also
Mhm.
things that make you a good technologist, right?
Mhm.
So things like understanding critical thinking, understanding psychology, understanding systems thinking, and
Oh yeah.
and
Oh.
how you bring that to the table, and how that can change your entire view of quality. Um, all of those types of things that are, not like, those are the things that set apart really, really fantastic testers and quality professionals from those who are just doing it as a job, right?
Mhm.
Because those who can come to it and they bring a broader perspective to the table, and they're able to take these multiple disciplines that maybe they're just interested in and apply it to
Mhm.
that world, right? Because they're these patterns, I mean, like, for those of us who are pattern nuts, right? Like, we see these patterns across so many different things, and the technology patterns are like they're
Oh yeah.
often mimicked after all of the things that already exist, right? Like, so I,
It
you
takes
you
about 15
start,
years to go through the cycle, right?
yeah,
I was at
yeah,
the end of the mainframe. I went into the minis. Then it was all remote, and it turned
yeah,
everything turned into the cloud, and then it slowly comes back. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
things go in waves. It just has everyone creates a new language for the newest new thing
right,
to
right,
differentiate it.
yeah. But if you
Um,
can kind of teach those, like, core, you know how to ask the right questions, right?
Oh,
How to actually perform an analysis. How to so I've been training a cybersecurity class for one of the clients that I work with, and um, one of the things that we're digging into this week is around threat modeling. Well, guess
oh.
what? Threat modeling is a fantastic way for teams to identify where the biggest risks are, right? And so those types of skills, like your skill sets, if you are looking at quality the right way, and if you're looking at testing the right way, you're looking at how these things apply and overlap with the other disciplines that you're working with. Because a lot of times you're going to find those cohesions where you can partner up, and you can utilize the knowledge from the cybersecurity team, or you can utilize the knowledge from your supply chain management, or you can utilize like suddenly your toolbox and your network of individuals who can provide expertise in certain areas becomes a whole lot bigger. And it also forces you to ask the questions differently, and to think about it from broader perspectives than just your own. And so, you know, forcing people to kind of get out of that complacent, I'm just coming to the work, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to run my test cases. If that, like, I will say right now, that type of testing is going to go away. That's the stuff that's going to be automated. If that's
It
all you're
will
doing,
diminish.
right?
Yeah.
And
You're at risk.
you're at risk. Absolutely.
If you're doing something that can be if you're uniquely identifying yourself just like the other thousands of people, you're not really that unique. So
Yeah.
you need to. There's a baseline set of skills that you need, um, and capabilities.
Yeah.
So could I run manual testing, or could I use minimal tools? So like Excel is a tool also, like a table. But with could I go to my SGI product, which had absolutely no automated tools because it was bleeding new, and be able to figure out how to test it? Yes. Why? Because I applied those capabilities from before. But but it's the being able to figure out how to reframe what you're doing. You should always be looking at how to do that. Nothing is staying the same. Everything is changing very quickly. There is no guarantee. When your company comes to you and says, "Oh, so what would you like to do in 5 years?" Do you think that they know what they're going to be really doing in 5 years? They might have a
Right.
direction, but don't place all your chips. Don't abdicate your responsibility for your own career.
Yeah.
And give that to someone else. So own it yourself and decide where you want to go.
Absolutely.
It's very rare for people to stay in the same company, let alone the same project or division of a company for multiple years. So the question is, where are you in that frame in your current situation, and how would you land at the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And you get a vote also. So what would you like to do?
Right. And do the things that you love, right? Because there are plenty of opportunities for you to do that, right? Like if I used to coach my team members, like it's not anybody's job to make you a better tester, right? Like your boss, it's not your boss's job to take you to the next level. It's not your boss's, like, it's not their responsibility to build you professionally. Now, is it going to happen with the right bosses? Absolutely. But to expect it, it's not going to happen in 90% of the cases, right?
Do you really want to be a person who has that inflicted on them?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But what that does mean is that you have to own it. You have to own your career development. And that's more than just going for your 4-year degree and realize, and thinking that's going to get you
I'm
through.
done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got to get away from that because this whole
But
thing
I
that you never have to learn
took
something new.
the 3 day work. I took the 3 day course and I passed the multiple choice exam. Therefore,
Hmm.
I'm done. Yeah, it doesn't
Right,
work that way.
right, right.
Um, it's so it's usually experiences. So what did you actually do, as opposed to not necessarily even years? It's so what have you done outside, and how does that apply?
Yeah,
Um, how are you? So how are you growing? How are you different than? So how are you different than you were 2 years ago as a tester?
right, right.
Um, how did that happen?
Yeah,
Well, I sat like a bump on a log and I waited for my management to get really mad at me and tell me that I had to go do something. And I reluctantly read that book that our group was doing. Yeah, don't do that.
yeah,
Go find this obviously isn't fitting for you. Let me help you
yeah.
find a different opportunity somewhere else.
Exactly.
So own it and go find out what works for you. Once
Yeah,
again, testing is at the center of so many cool stuff. Do you like interacting with customers? Go work in customer relations if that
right.
fits for you.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because one of the things that I've been deeply thinking about is, when AST started, right? Testing, it was primarily focused on software testing, right? But
Yeah.
but you look at where testing is now, and you look where quality is now, and you look at how broadly it applies, and how there are hardware aspects, there's IoT aspects to it. There are all different types of computing system environments that are expanded, and some of it's hardware, some of it's
Mhm.
uh you know um oh gosh, this
People
like
and the
the scope.
processes
Yeah.
around them.
Oh, for sure,
Uh, it's the
100%.
data.
Yeah, the
It's
governance piece of it, the compliance, the regulatory stuff.
yeah. It
Yeah.
also is a thing that people don't fully appreciate is these systems are not static.
Mm,
And so
mhm.
as time changes, that system that you built that was standalone that worked by itself that only had 500 people using it that was wonderfully successful. Hey, congratulations.
Right.
7 years later, the company got sold. It's now been integrated into this larger system and now has to play with this. It's part of a larger, broader ecosystem and it's
Right.
receiving feeds from other things that you had no concept of, and it's feeding other stuff also. So
Yeah.
yeah, so as a tester, you live in that kind of world.
Yeah, you do. But I will, I don't want people to leave today thinking that there's not options for them. I'm a true believer in people doing what they love. Some of us are meant to be in this space. Some of us
Mhm,
love this space. Um, and even though it drives us
mhm,
to insanity at times, we're continuing to stay here. We're continuing to share and learn and
mhm,
lead and follow and um, adapt and grow
mhm,
and fail miserably sometimes and back up and brush ourselves off and learn something new. And that's all part of the process. And
yeah,
I think one of the things I'm excited to announce about AST is this year we're actually putting in place a formalized. Not only are we working on really giving the tools and some of the competencies and creating some overhauled training opportunities for people. At a global scale, but we're also looking at opening up career mentoring and kind of looking at what that looks like from the perspective of providing help in some of these areas, challenging taking some of our more senior members and having them be able to kind of work with some of the newer members, and newer individuals who are entering this market and really kind of help them kind of figure out what their path looks like,
mhm,
whether that's through AST tools or whether that's through any number of
mhm,
the n number of tools that are out there. Just providing more resources to one another and helping create more conversation, create more of that community space where people can share their thoughts, can share both their
trials and
their
success.
trials
Yeah,
and successes,
yeah.
right? Because it's both of it, and kind of share what they've learned along the way.
Mhm.
Um, because we all have our stories, and we all have those moments of really, really great joy, and we all have those moments where, boy, we ate one, right? Like we ate it hard, and it took us a minute to kind of get
Yeah,
back up and recover.
yeah.
Um,
Sometimes it's not your fault. Also,
no,
uh,
and that's true. That's true. Um, and so even learning how, which I mean, admittedly, I'm still working on this 30 years into my career, but admittedly, even in those cases where it's not your fault, recognizing that you always have accountability for yourself and what
uh,
you choose, right? I think one of the one of the call to reality moments I had in, working with a mentor a few years back was, I was getting stuck in a pattern, um, working for really bad bosses. And one of the things that they
you're
that
gonna
they
fix
brought up
them.
to me was, well, no, I mean, I was just kind of in this space where I'm like, I
Oh,
don't understand where I keep ending up in these situations where I
yeah.
don't have supportive leaders, and
Uh,
I go in thinking it's going to be well, and then I end up in this situation where it's the same pattern. And and the mentor was like, well, at some point you're going to ask yourself, well, why you choose to put up with it, and why you choose to work with people like that.
why do you?
And I was
Why
like,
do you?
oh.
Uh,
So
well, I know that I personally have the zero question, which gets back to it's a build off of Jerry Weinberg. So before I take any gig, I ask myself, do I want to work with them on their problem in the way that they want me to like interact with them,
yeah,
for what they're about to, for what they're, for the way, for the group that I'm going to work with, and for what they're going to compensate me with,
yeah,
and uh, and having the freedom to say no, that isn't going to, or I could if I had this, or I need access to this tool. I want this training.
yeah,
But are we? How are we going to? I want some authority around this. Knowing what matters for me, what are deal breakers, because I know that I don't function well in the wrong environments.
yeah.
Becoming very clear with myself. I am not the right fit for
Hmm.
every project, and
Yes,
I'm okay with that. and
absolutely.
and if we can get to that place where I know that I shouldn't take this job in the interview really fast, or even before the interview, I'm okay with that too.
Right, right, right. Well, yeah, and and realizing that it's okay. Like that's not a falling short of your own, right? It's just there we are one perspective
Uh,
in, so many, right? Like n number
yeah.
of perspectives, and we are a group of skills that are going to have strengths in certain areas and weaknesses in others. And one thing as a leader I've learned is really kind of honing in on individual strengths and really
Mhm.
focusing on those, because I found that that's really the way to kind of bring out and help a person kind of adjust some of their weaknesses, even, right, is by
Mhm.
focusing on the strength areas, because it all is connected. And so kind of thinking thinking about career development, thinking about personal development, thinking about where you are in your career today and the opportunities ahead of you, and being honest with yourself, I think is a really good place to start, right? And so, you know, we're coming to time now, but I do want to leave us and kind of wrap up the
Mhm.
conversation on, it can be really hard, especially, having gone through multiple layoffs over the last few years. I have been in the situation, and I have been in that state of feeling like you're just not good enough for the world, or that, nobody needs your what you have to offer,
Yeah,
right?
they create the imposter syndrome.
The
Yeah.
imposter
Yeah.
syndrome, the feeling helpless, the feeling. And
Mhm.
so, I think in those moments, it can be very, very difficult to see your value add. And so
Mhm.
it's a good opportunity for you to take a moment, take some deep breaths, maybe do a little bit of self-care, not check out, but take some space to really take a walk and think about the things that are really, really important to you. The things that, you have found bring you the most joy in your career, and the things that you feel are your greatest strengths.
Mhm.
And focus on what those look like. Because I think what you will find is that, one, you have more than you realize. And also, I think it's worth doing the opposite and looking at what are the things that I'm not so great at, right? Like, what are the
Mhm.
things that I have consistently struggled with?
Mhm.
And again, it's not necessarily to harp on those. It's for you to make an honest assessment of where you are and where your strengths are,
Mhm.
and really emphasize those, not only in the way that you're interacting with your job search and interviews and approaching new companies, but also in how you approach the next step of your career, and whether it's in a quality role, or whether instead of looking for that testing role, you're looking at something different and you're saying, you know what, I have this and this and this and this, and this is what I really love. What are some other areas,
Yeah.
career, that
Be a
really
twofer.
utilize
I
these?
can do this and that. It's like,
Right.
the other candidate
Absolutely.
doesn't do that. So
Yeah.
um, I like the idea of don't harp on your. I'm not good at this. I think that so if you get into that brutally honest place for yourself, yeah, you're not good at that. Do you need to create more of that capability? Do you need to work on that, or how can you get support around that? So
Right.
yeah, it's like well, that can be a thing that you ask for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, can I make a recommendation to the audience also?
Yeah, absolutely.
If
Please
you're at
do.
the if you're in the actually not just if you're at the in between place, go on YouTube. It's a free video. Of a movie. The movie's called Finding Joe. It's about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey.
Oh,
And
yes.
then the
Okay.
piece of this that applies to folks in that situation is what is your bliss? So what is the thing that what's your bigger purpose? What
Yeah.
is the thing that gives you joy? What makes you unique? Figure out go find that
Yeah.
because that will help point the path that perhaps you need to go take.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Finding Joe, YouTube.
Finding Joe.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And we'll include the link to that after this stream.
Cool.
We will also include a handout, or a digital handout that will have all kinds of tidbits from some of the research that we've shared today, some of the advice that we have for the different things to consider, the different paths to take. And very excited for our next one of these. We're working on, so just to give everybody a heads up as we wrap up, we are kind of shifting these a little bit. What we will be doing moving forward is we want to make these more valuable, and we want to add to the meat of them. And so we're going to have actually two uh, conversations a month on a specific topic. One of those will be more of a training presented by an SME on the
Hmm.
topic,
Hmm.
and then that will be for members only. And then we will also have open up the open forum of caffeinated quality in the second session, so that we can kind of bring the outcomes of that to the larger community. So there will be two aspects to it. There will be one that's very member focused. So I encourage any of you who get anything out of these sessions to please become a member. It is not expensive. Um, we want you part of our community. We are here to help. We do this because we are passionate about you. We are passionate about this community, and about where we're taking this industry together. So,
Hmm.
um, and these groups matter in terms of building that network for you, that network of support. Um, so yeah, so we'll be sharing more information about that soon. Um, But thank you, Griffin, for joining
You're
me on the
welcome.
conversation. I'm glad that I caught you on there. Please continue to do that, because I'll throw you the link and you can join in future discussions, because these are always great.
We'll have to make sure we get the link to the LinkedIn people sooner.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and for the technical difficulties, we'll try to get that worked out too. There's always some glitches occasionally with this stuff, but thank you all so much for participating, and have a great rest of your week.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Yep.